Welcome back, everybody, to another video. Today, we're going to be catching up with how my hobbying is going. So you can see behind me, there is a army set for Cities of Sigmar. If I swivel my chair out this way, you can see my Warhammer boxes are piling up there, but there has been progress. I have been working on things, and part of the reason I haven't had a lot of videos is because I've been so busy at work, but another reason that I haven't had a lot of videos coming out is because I'm dealing with a concussion. And I've had 3 this year, which is, not something to be smiling about. However, okay, let's look for the silver lining, people. When you have a concussion, you don't really do a lot of stuff on screen, right? So you read a lot of books, and I have read a lot of books, but you build and you paint a lot of Warhammer. So I am almost entirely done my army set, and I've even started on some other things. So let's talk about how my journey into the Warhammer hobby has been going. Let's start by doing a quick catch up on how much I've spent on Warhammer so far. So I started this hobby in the summer, and I really got into it around August. And around that time, I had spent something like $400. I made a video about it and basically what that got me. Now, since that point, I bought the army set, and then I've just bought like a lot of paints to be able to kind of increase the range in which I can, paint stuff. I got a wet palette. I got some, other little things here and there to help out with the hobby. And I am now at a grand total of $800 spent and 0 regrets. And a big part of that is because how long this hobby has kept me entertained. The amount of time that I've spent on it has been pretty amazing, and I have yet to play a game. Although I am very excited. Soon I am going to be going into my local Games Workshop store, Warhammer store. I'm going to be playing a 1K army for Cities of Sigmar, and I'm going to play my first battle. So I'm so excited for that. I'll probably make a video about that so I can share that information with everybody. But in case you were wondering, yeah, $800. And I've also had a bit of, good luck or not. I mean, it's not luck. It's just kindness. Some kindness in my life where for my birthday, I got some Venari Dawn Riders to supplement my Lumineth. We got the Cities of Sigmar announcement, and all of a sudden I was all in on Cities of Sigmar. And for Christmas, I received actually 2 boxes of Fusiliers and 1 box of the Ironweld Great Cannon. And so I'll talk a little bit about painting those as well in this video. All right, so let's talk about the progress on the various models that I've been painting. And I've learned an absolute boatload. Like, honestly, there's been quite a bit of steps where I've made mistakes, and we'll talk about those, of course. But there's been a lot of areas where I'm actually really impressed, and I'm starting to think that, maybe I am going to improve at this whole painting thing. So we'll start with the Steelhelms because I had quite a bit of trouble with those. They're very small infantry, and they're pretty straightforward. I did the kind of volcanic bases on all of them using the Games Workshop tutorial. And by the way, I haven't figured out a good way to film me painting. So rather than have some painting B-roll for this video, we're going to be showing a lot of photos, just of stills of the models that I've worked on and the progress. So for example, you can see in some of these models that there's going to be a lot of buildup. And basically I've primed these Steelhelms and some other models on the worst possible night. Like, it was a cold, rainy night. There was a lot of humidity, and basically I learned the hard way what happens if you leave your models out in this terrible humid environment, and basically you get cracked paint that you can't build a base on, you get obscured details, and that's definitely a problem. But then the positive side is that I started to get really good at painting on specific areas and surfaces, and I started to notice that compared to the Lumineth, and now the Lumineth were a very difficult model to start with, I had way less mistakes to go back and fix. Now, when you look at some of the pictures and you see the shields and they have, you know, red where they're supposed to be like the black iron, that was easy to go back and fix. And I started to get better at using my paintbrush to, you know, hit just the raised edges and so on. But even things like, you look at the steel, the lead belcher paint that I was using, and at times I felt like, you know, I really didn't thin that as much as I should have, and you can see it even builds up a little bit. So there's still a lot of progress to be made, but I feel really good about these steel helms. In terms of where they're at now, they need eyes. I can't do eyes. I really suck at doing eyes, but I'm going to work on it at some point here. And they all need to have some highlights done. So they've been base painted. There's been some layering, but then, you know, I haven't really moved past that. I did some washes, and I haven't done, you know, post-wash highlights and layers yet. And that's something that I need to work on. But for now, I'm kind of working on just assembling my force so that I can get ahead and play the game, because I'm super excited to do that as well. I'd also like to talk about the Marshal, the Relic Envoy, and the Alchemite Warforger, because those were models that the first models I started with. I started building and painting, and you'll see in the early photos, I hadn't really figured out the molten cube yet on the Warforger. I feel like I've got a pretty cool looking smoke coming out of his cauldron, but I still need to go back and work on that cube some more and kind of work on the technique for that. But I do feel really good about the Marshal, because on the Marshal specifically, I was able to do some highlights on the metal parts of his armor. I was able to do some layering on his cape and the different parts of cloth on his body, and I feel like it turned out really well. Like it was my first time really doing something like that, and I'm very pleased with how that turned out. We can also talk about the battle priests and the standard bearers, because there's a really good example there of how priming can go bad and good. So for each of these models, one of them turned out okay. They were all primed at the exact same time, but you know, one of the standard bearers and battle priests turned out poorly, and one of the other turned out well, and it kind of really gave me a stark contrast. The flag for the actual standard was something I was super nervous to paint, but it actually turned out to be a lot easier than I thought it was going to be, because you use thin coats, you apply multiple times, you get better brush work to get those edges, those raised edges, to get, you know, stay within the, you know, recess of the actual, like, where the heraldry goes on the flag, etc. And I even did a pretty good job with the rope. I mean, I hope it did at least. So I'm feeling pretty pleased with these models as well. The model that I'm most excited to talk about in this video is the Ironweld Great Cannon. And it's the model that I've spent the most time on. And I still think it needs work, but I'm really happy with where it is right now. This is a model that I was extremely excited for, because it was just so epic, and I feel like because of that I put a lot of time into it. It is a nice bigger target for my brush. I actually built this incorrectly, and luckily I was able to take apart with my hobby knife and put it back together the right way. Basically, I had that front shield on a little bit too high, and the whole thing was uneven and didn't go down on the surface. So I'm going to show this model. I'm going to show some pictures of it, you know, from all the way from being built to primed to painted to washed to highlighted. This is a model that I practiced my dry brushing on, that I first did, like my first ever decal application, and since then I've done it on the Steelhelms and the Fusiliers, and you know, it's pretty easy, but I didn't know that, right? I thought it was going to be really scary, but this is the model that I am absolutely the most proud of, and I'm really excited to play on the table. And after that, and I did work on this one in between finishing my Steelhelms. I then did the standard bearers and the battle priests, which leads to the final part of this video, which is working on the Fusiliers, the first box of Fusiliers, that is, because now I feel like that's where all my skills are coming together. So I decided to do some sub-assemblies for my Fusiliers. I have the bodies and guns all built and attached. I've got the heads separately primed, and then I have their big shields actually primed separately as well. And so I'm going to paint all of those separately and then put them onto the base together as a trio using super glue. And so at this point, I have painted all of my shields and all the standards and lanterns and torches that go along with those. And I'm feeling really good about it. I think that I did a good job with the red wood. I feel like I did a great job with the actual little again, heraldry area where you paint it with that kind of parchment tone, and then you put on those different decals. I feel like I did a good job with the fire and the skulls and the standard for the standard bearer one. And I'm really excited with some of the dry brushing that I've done on the black metal that is on the top kind of like framework of the actual miniatures. So I'm at this point going to be moving on to the bodies themselves, then the heads, and then I'll put it all together. And I still like, because this Wednesday I'm not able to go up to my local Games Workshop store, I still have another week and couple days to get these done so that I'm ready to play my first ever game of Age of Sigmar. So I really can't wait. I'm so excited for this one. These are, again, one of my favorite models. I was kind of bummed when I heard that the Alchemite Warforger blazing weapon kind of nerfed indirectly these Fusiliers, but it's all about the rule of cool. I'm still excited to play them, and I'm going to have 20 of them. So I'm really excited to put those ones together, start painting them as well. But, I'm pretty far away from getting to 2K at this point. But either way, this has been kind of the next step of my evolution as a painter. So that's it for my hobby update. I will definitely put together a video with my full battle force of Cities of Sigmar once that's done. Maybe I can get some painting footage in the near future. I don't know. I'm also starting, I've started a long time ago, a club at my school. But what's really cool is we have received Game Workshop, school product. So just yesterday I was playing little tiny Warhammer games with my students, and everybody was painting Space Marines and Vindicators and stuff. And so that was really cool. So otherwise, that's it. That's it for me. Hope you're all doing well, and I'll be back with another Warhammer video soon enough.